Today's Daily Dose of Math is about measuring angles with a protractor. I'll just remind you that a circle is 360 degrees. An angle is a smaller part of a circle, and we can measure it using degrees as our unit of measure. Most protractors that I've seen look like this. They are good for measuring an angle that's up to 180 degrees, half a circle. To do that, we place the baseline of the protractor, which is down here along the bottom, so that it's lying on one of the two arms of the angle. We make sure that the zero dot of the protractor, which is in the middle of the baseline, is on our vertex. And then we count up these numbers on the outside edge of the protractor, and we're able to see that this angle is 65 degrees. I make an arc on the angle, and then I write the measure of the angle there. Now we can't see this very well on the video, so let's do a few more examples on the desktop. Here we have several angles. We'll start with this one here on the top left. I take my protractor and I make sure the baseline of the protractor is lying on one of the arms of the angle. And the zero dot of the protractor is on the vertex of the angle. Once I've done that, I'm able to count up with these numbers along the outside edge. Notice that there are two sets of numbers. I'm always going to be counting up from 0. So I'm using the inner set of numbers for this one. And I can see that this angle is 45 degrees. And I will label it as such. Let's try this one on the top right. We do the same thing, except now we're using the left side of the protractor. We arrange the baseline on the arm of the angle. We make sure that our zero dot is on the vertex. And then, this time, we're not going to use the inner set of numbers, because using the left side of the protractor, we will count up from 0 using the outer set of numbers. And I'm able to see that this angle is 85 degrees. Now we have an angle that's bigger than 90 on the bottom left. But the procedure is the same. Because I'm using the right side of the protractor, I'm using the inner set of numbers. And counting up from 0, I can go all the way up to 125 degrees for this angle. Finally, with this angle on the bottom right, notice how every angle actually is two angles. You can have the smaller one, but this time the arc is showing us the one on the outside, the bigger one. So how do I do that when I have a protractor that only goes up to 180? If I arrange the protractor the way I like to, it's not big enough to go all the way to the other arm of the angle. So the trick here is to measure the angle that I can measure, which this time is the inside one. And it's 90 degrees. Then I just have to subtract that 90 from 360. Remember? The measure of a circle is 360 degrees. 360 minus 90 is 270. Therefore, this angle is 270 degrees. Let's go back to our whiteboard for one last example. What if someone wants me to measure the other angle here? We can use the trick that we just used. I'm going to mark an arc on this outer angle. My protractor isn't big enough to measure that big angle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say 360, the measure of the whole circle, minus the 65 that I found before, is equal to 295 degrees. And that's going to be the measure of this angle. This is just some of the basics of measuring angles with the protractor. Measuring angles with the protractor is not difficult once you've practiced a few examples. That is today's Daily Dose of Math. Please like, subscribe, and share.